Welcome to Dear Business Coach, the podcast. My name's Elizabeth. Find one thing to move your business forward today with conversations, spotlights, interviews, articles, and free resources. Listen and follow and subscribe on social media. Dear Business Coach pages and groups. Dear Business Coach podcast, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, and don't forget Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, anywhere you listen to podcasts. All it takes sometimes is one little thing to move your business forward today.
Okay.
Well, you know what? Welcome, Matthew, to the Dear Business Coach podcast. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Looking forward to the conversation.
Good. Actually, we've spoken a couple of times, and so I think you and I both really want to be here today. I actually had a chance to get a lot of detail from you. It felt like the first time we chatted, and so I think when that happens, in this natural cycle of networking and learning about each other, what's new right now for you, Matthew?
Well, we're in the process of closing out the year and starting some new projects for 2026, which we're excited. We're in the e-commerce space, and so yeah, we have some cool things on the horizon.
Okay, so what I want to know from you is maybe some background as to how you got interested in helping people build and scale, and why is that actually is that actually a focus, whereas it's an assumption, I think, for me, of course, who doesn't want to build and scale? So why is this so important that that's actually, the name of what you do, and how I find you? Build and grow is in your name. So what's so important about that essence there?
Yeah, well, for me, I was traveling. I was on the road about 200 days a year. I had a commercial concrete business. And I went to a Tony Robbins event and he was talking or he shared a program called Money Masters and sold it. And I joined that. And then every month I got a new DVD and a brochure of someone that was online making money and generating their income that way. And I thought, wow, that's very interesting. I could do that from anywhere and the weather wouldn't matter and I wouldn't have to have 25 employees and trucks and equipment and all this other stuff. And so I kind of set a target of figuring that out and within 5 years being online and replacing my income. The first opportunity that I took advantage of was SEO, and I realized after 6, 8 months I didn't enjoy that at all. And then another
Oh,
program or another platform came along called Teespring, and it was essentially where you could make a design, you could put it on a t-shirt, and then you'd run ads to that design, and you would sell some. And the more you'd sell, the cheaper they would produce it for you, and the less you sold, the more expensive. And so you have to essentially look at how many you sold, what they were going to charge you, take your ad costs out, and see how much money you made. And within the first 4 or 5 designs, I had one shirt that took off really, really well and made me a bunch of money, which gave me plenty of working capital to figure it out. And over the next 3 years, we did exactly that. There was a group of, we created a small group of 6 of us, and I ended up doing about $15 million in t-shirts over the next 5 years.
no
And
kidding.
I had replaced my income from concrete, decided to do the online thing full time, and I worked on that platform for about 4 years. And then they changed some things and wouldn't give us our customer data so that we could follow up with them and sell more. So a bunch of us moved over to Shopify. And when we did that, that's kind of what started my journey of having to figure out how to run the website, how to get changes made on websites, how to like understand conversion principles and all that so that we could continue to increase and make things work better and better over time.
Hmm. I mean, I think you have obviously found, an interest in watching that process. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely find a lot of fulfillment in it because I really see it as a way to help other people achieve their dreams. And I feel like we solve the problem of not the business operations, but of how to make the website work so that it supports the business operations efficiently and profitably, which is exactly why we're in business. So it's kind of a
Mm.
both sides of the puzzle need each other, and so we focus on just that, the website, and then over time, I've been doing this now about 10, 11 years. The other metric that I've really realized, which I'm sure you'll understand being a business coach, is that the mindset of the entrepreneur that owns the business matters just as much as the website does, because typically that is also where the guardrails are on the business, based off of their own limiting beliefs or, narratives and stories that they tell themselves.
Update, update, update. Now you can get 10 free email issues when you sign up for email at dearbusinesscoachpodcast.com. Discount codes and access to the VIP page, dearbusinesscoachpodcast.com. Okay, well, so did the metrics or the numbers that you use to or that we use to measure ourselves with when looking at success, what does that look like in your day to day? Like, how would I decide what numbers to look at? Is that something that I need to be concerned about on a day-to-day basis? Do I need to be worried about being someone who is concerned about looking at numbers on a day-to-day basis to be successful in this way?
Yeah, I would say you do. I think that your numbers matter, and if you don't know your numbers, then at some point you're outsourcing your thinking, and so you're only ever going to be as good as who you've outsourced your thinking to. And I say that from the frame of that's what I've done in the past, and it didn't work out well for me. So understanding that, yeah, we need to be involved. We need to know the numbers in order to manage it. And you can only really affect what you manage, because otherwise you're just throwing stuff against the wall and trying to figure out what sticks.
Yeah, well, I've done that. I do that a lot. Sometimes I feel like that's a good exercise, maybe. But no, certainly, really, when analyzing efficiency or trying to meet a goal or making a goal happen, that's not that's not a process.
Right.
So and I'm pushing a little bit. Sometimes I forget to maybe qualify what I'm saying. I am pushing a little bit because you said you kind of got popular, right, with a design that took off for you. Were you a designer? Are you a designer?
Nope. I just had,
Okay.
I have good ideas, and then I would have someone else make the design for me, and then I would run ads based off of who I thought would resonate with that design.
I love it when I can um have an assumption and then get you to, share with me what what the truth is. And then also now I have a new idea, right? Is this the kind of, do other people ask you these kinds of silly questions?
Sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's, I mean, that's really how we learn is we ask a question and figure out how we resolve, what we have going on in our head, for sure.
Well, so I think, when I look at your message and I listen to your voice, you have a personality about you that's very you have an analytical sense that I would think is second nature. Maybe this is something that you were, maybe you're good with numbers as a kid. Maybe these are things about you that just come to you naturally, and you've found a way to uh, work with this in front of you as a potter does to clay, so to speak. I don't know if you would see yourself that way, because you also, and you also are telling me right now today that you want to, you're inspired to see people succeed, and you want to see that happen. So you want to share something with other people, and that's fascinating too. So I'm challenging this idea that there's a mastermind, genius, Matt Stafford, who's able to lay out the map, and yet you just said, I want to watch people succeed. And so that is a desire.
Yeah, I totally think that our quality of life comes from not how successful we are, but the quality of our relationships. And when you help someone hit their goals and you do it in a way that's supportive of them, I think that that does create really strong connections. And for me personally, I can say that it has added to the quality of my life. The people that I work with on a daily basis, they're my friends, or they become my friends, and people that I like to spend time with. It's not just to make more money. Obviously, we want to do that. That's why we go to work. If we're not doing it as a charity. Sometimes we do, but not intentionally.
Yeah, so what's the difference between a what's the difference between being in building mode and scaling? Can I tell the difference?
Yeah, obviously they're going to overlap because building and scaling is probably the main difference is just the velocity. But when you're building, you're looking for the things that are working, and so that you can do more of that and less of the things that aren't. So I would think that building is more of an identification process, and then the scaling is uh, pushing the gas pedal and really, uh, you know, nailing the things that you identified are what's working, and monitoring those metrics in order to get the growth that you're looking for. And success means all different things to all different people. We've had several clients that hit their revenue target goals of what they thought was possible, and they lost motivation to go much farther past that. It was like they achieved what they wanted to, and for them that was good. So that's out of at first it was frustrating, but over time, just my own maturity level, I realized that, you know, my idea of success doesn't need to be theirs, and their idea of success doesn't need to be mine, and we can both support each other in whatever that is for us. Because I don't think that success is solely based off of just the money that you earn, but also, the quality of life that you have and quality of relationships.
Yeah, well, you just, that is very interesting, right? Is maybe what only they can tell their story, right? And that, so they're not here to speak up, but I could say you can have a goal that you meet, and maybe you meet the goal to meet the goal, and maybe you found out maybe your goal was something different now, and maybe that changed on the way or after the fact. So yeah, that's a good example, and that's not something that I think about too often, even though I seem to talk about it a lot, right? Is when do you acknowledge, that your goal has changed, or how do you do that? And so I think that you are saying something important there, where you're identifying in the building stage, you're identifying what works, and so the words what's the phrase that I'm looking for? We're looking for a proof, right? A proof of concept. And so that's maybe not quite it, right? A proof of concept needs to come first, but as far as this stage of identifying like the things that need to go right before we scale. So that's kind of the second version of this question, right? Is, well, so so if I think I have a good idea, if I ever think I have a t-shirt, I have a design that will sell, if I think it will sell, let's say that I think it will sell, or maybe I think I've sold 100, and I think, hey, if 100 sold, 1,000 will sell, right? maybe, maybe not. So right there, am I ready to scale, or am I in a or am I still at the beginning stage where I need to test? Do you know what I'm saying? Like if I, as a beginner, like I might get too excited and just try to scale right away as soon as I think I have a good idea. So what would you say to somebody like me?
Yeah, it depends on what your risk aversion is. If you're
Hmm.
not very averse to risk or you have the capital to test it and push it, um, I personally many times would have a successful shirt that I thought, oh man, this is really going to do great. And I would spend all the profits to try to push it and it wouldn't work. So I basically gave up that money that I had earned. And then I had other ones that, obviously did go on to do very well. It's really contextual. I don't think that there's a pattern that is that you can just go, oh wow, if this did this, then this is the result. The thing is that I always tell people you have to do is you have to let them vote with their wallet. And if they're not buying it, then it doesn't matter if you love the design or don't love the design, or you love the idea or don't love the idea. If people aren't voting for it by giving you money for it, then it's probably not going to work as a business.
Have you ever held on to a product or a project too long?
Oh yeah, many times, many times.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, most of my lessons have come through experience, not from, you know, not from somebody else.
Right. Well, I mean, how do I measure my risk aversion or lack there or the other direction? How if I have the emotional width to take on risk, how do I kind of look into that?
Well, if you do, then you're going to be willing to take more chances, and if you don't, then obviously you probably will go, okay, that one made me $500. I'm going to put that $500 to the side and keep using whatever I've determined is my pool of resources. So yeah, I certainly think for me, my risk aversion was very low, and I made a lot of emotional decisions. And so over time, as we get older and realize that that doesn't always fare well, you know, our strategies change. And I think that that's really individual per person.
Well, I guess I don't. I guess one thing that a lot of my questions are right at the beginning because I think of e-commerce as a place where I could get easily trapped because I do get excited about an idea, even though I can tell myself if it doesn't sell, it doesn't sell. I can tell myself that, and yet if something I think is really great or has a lot of potential or sold a little bit but doesn't continue to sell, then I think. Well, I'm not marketing it the right way or something like that. So testing and getting into this idea of actually testing sounds really expensive. And when I think of marketing, my experience with marketing is it's just cash out the door that you're kind of testing is most of the way that advertising has been for me. And I have to kind of explain to myself after the fact that, yeah, okay, that was good branding or that contributed in this way or that way. You are looking for numbers. So I would assume that I can get um, better at this, how to measure these things. As far as taking the risk to invest in that and invest time and money to test, my personal definition of risk when it comes to spending cash on something is kind of a little bit like, can you truly, will you actually miss it? I mean, really, really, really take it out of your picture and does it matter to you? And that sounds ridiculous. But I think what I'm trying to say is for me to be able to risk some cash, I have to really know that it's okay that's what that's spent for. That is totally, it's like going on vacation or something. This is an experience. We're looking for an experience here. And
Yep.
as
And
long as I get behind that idea, then I can move forward with that budget. And so what do you feel like that about risk or am I really risk averse?
No, I think that yeah, that there's certain levels to that, but exactly what you explained is accurate, just depending on how much you're willing to part with in that testing process to figure it out, uh, would to me would just be an indication of what your risk aversion is. You know, Obviously there's people that have so little respect for the risk that they put themselves in poor situations, and or they're just not starting off with a lot, and so it's just going to be tight. Essentially, we don't deal with very many startups at all. Most of the companies that we help are already doing quite a large volume, and so I would say that we're much better at helping people go from good to great than from zero to get started. And so
Mm-hmm.
we really are focused and experts at the part of you have something working. Now we can dial it in to work much better. And that's just the main thing.
Right. So then, so does it, so scaling is what's fascinating to me because this is where I think I get tripped up in going from have a good product, I have a good product, I have a good thing, to, okay, I can actually make this available for X times as many people or in X amount of times of space or geographically, I can make this available. And there are a lot of things that have to go right. And a minute ago you said Shopify. A lot of people are trust Shopify. I've heard the name in podcast advertising for years now. They have really taken advantage of the podcast space. And I still wasn't really familiar with that purple button that they say so often in the advertising until recently. But once I saw it, that branding really caught up to me. And I would say the same thing about PayPal, eBay, and then, of course, who doesn't know about e-commerce space? Can you get involved as an individual with Amazon, for example? And these are all places to learn and look at. You said Shopify. Is that an organization, a brand, a name, a platform that you see sticking around for a while? Is that somebody that you're comfortable using
Yeah,
that
yeah.
name?
Shopify is that's who we do the majority of our work. They literally process over $1 trillion worth of e-commerce transactions a year. So they're the 800-pound gorilla in the space.
hmm So, what do you know about um, why that works? I mean, there have been several platforms before Shopify that have tried to make this kind of branding happen. And you are someone who would be able to answer this question of, well, because their customer service for me works, or because they're streamlined for this or that works. But you as an individual in the space of of having successfully scaled and teaching others to scale, you have to really know that um, platform is there and is reliable in order for you to build your message on that.
Yeah, essentially, they don't do your customer service. They
hmm
give you a platform with which to run your business on, and it is set up with an app environment that allows you to add apps so that your selling experience can be unique to the type of product or service that you offer.
hmm
And yeah, they've grown and grown, and they continue to reinvest. It's a great platform. It's public. They do very well.
Right.
It's not going anywhere.
So even if I am new to the e-commerce space, but have success in the product space, that you think that this is user friendly enough for me to
Yeah,
grasp
it's the only
myself.
platform that I would personally use myself. Yeah.
Oh, right. So that's kind of what I was curious about too, is how you feel like that would, affect you if you're not preparing for other platforms. You're not saying, well, this is one we use and we're trying to build our own. You are perfectly fine with saying, yes, we process
Yeah,
in
there
this
would there would
way.
be I can't see a reason. in any world to build my own platform in order to test and try e-commerce. It would just
Mm,
it would be silly.
mm. So what do when I want to take a look at your work and kind of follow maybe in your footsteps a little bit to get started with, what would be the first way that people should learn about you?
Yeah, just our website's buildgrowscale.com.
And do I let me actually pull it. Build scroll build I tried did this to you last time. Build grow scale and .com. Okay, thank you. Now, when actually I reach out to you, can I ask for a meeting with you directly, or what does that
Yeah.
process
Yep.
look
Yeah,
like?
there's just there's book a calendar and yeah, 100%.
Okay, so I would actually be booking a time to talk with you.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Well, sometimes I don't know. I'd like to make sure so if so if I get a chance to actually talk with you directly, that's pretty awesome. Now, do you have anything in particular that you would like to plug right now? Are you publishing new material? Is there anything that I can look at in particular since the
Yeah,
last time we
I would say for
talked?
anyone wanting to get started, the first thing to do would be to go to our blog, which is on the website, and we give away, we teach what we do. We've posted the podcast where we share all of our strategies. That's a lot more important to make the phone calls effective. So I would go through the blog and yeah, start there.
Wow. Okay, so that's very generous of you. I don't, I think that maybe in for people who are interested in learning and myself included, I can see right here on the homepage, again, buildgrowscale.com. There's blog and contact support and book a call. So that's one of the first things that I look at when I go to a site is where do I think they're trying to get me to go first? What is the first thing that this business or this person wants me to know about them? And so I appreciate that the book a call button is the highlighted one, and so that makes it a lot easier. I don't I see that the 30-minute blocks here that's a 30-minute meeting, and all I have to do is put in like my basic information. So it's not really um like a resume format. Like I'm not actually having to give you like a business kit for you to be able to help me or talk with me initially.
Yeah.
Okay. So, well, what I will do is ask you to follow up with me in the new year. One of the things I'm trying to get better at during the episode with you is let you know that I'm inviting you to submit maybe an article if you'd like for a book for folks who have been on the Dear Business Coach podcast. So look out for some details about that and from me as far as would you like to contribute? And then, of course, if you want to use any of the clips or social media, look for that on the Dear Business Coach podcast social pages. All
Cool.
right. And so I thank you so much. I hope you have a great holiday and we'll let's talk again soon.
All right. Sounds good.
All
Thanks.
right. Bye, Nancy. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Dear Business Coach podcast. My name's Elizabeth Walker, producer and host. Don't forget to subscribe to email. Thank you so much for being here and find one thing today to move your business forward. Contact me at dearbusinesscoachpodcast@gmail.com. And as always, you are a superstar.
and stuff.